Hello, Whiskey Freaks. Welcome back to the Beastmasters Club podcast. Before we get into this week's episode, I just want to give you all a huge thank you from Steve and I here at Beastmasters Club. We are loving all of the support and feedback that we're getting from everybody about Beastmasters Club and about the podcast. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for coming out to the events and for showing so much enthusiasm for our picks and bottles. We are super psyched and we're glad that whatever we're doing is pleasing to you. So please keep the support coming, keep tuning in, and we'll keep doing our thing over here. This episode of the podcast is going to feature a tasting that the club did with Josh Hatton. He's a great friend of the podcast, great friend of the Beastmasters Club, and he is the founder of both Single Cask Nation and the Whisky Jewbilee Festival. So Josh came in and shared a bunch of his private barrel picks and selections with the club to taste, and then he took us into a tasting of Kilchoman's 2016 special edition cask strength bottling of their Machir Bay offerings. So we dive into that at the end. We have a few bottles of this special edition of the Machir Bay available on beastmastersclub.com. If you go there, you can purchase a bottle. There are really very few left. I think we have a handful. So if you want one, try and jump on there and grab it. Hopefully one will still be available. We also have a few bottles left of the Beastmasters Selection Private Barrel pick from Barrel Bourbon that was the focus of our first tasting event. So if you haven't grabbed one of those yet, you can still get one, but once they're gone, and that's it. So grab one there at beastmastersclub.com if you haven't yet. So thank you all again for your support. And I'm going to shut up now and get into the latest podcast. Thanks a lot.
Beastmasters Club, experiencing the world's finest whiskey, one bottle at a time.
All right, we're going to bring this edition of the Beastmasters Club to order. Welcome, everyone. Yeah, we're glad to have you here.
Hey.
All right. Tonight we have a very special tasting lined up for you. Just want to give a few thank yous before we begin. Of course, big special thanks to Jim Parisi from Xavier Wines, our host for the evening. Yeah, Jim has graciously provided this tasting room down here, and Jim specializes here at Xavier Wines in natural biodynamic wines and curating those wines for people. So if you're out there in podcast land, or if you're here at the table and you want some curated wine selections or any help in sort of growing out your wine collection or spirits collection, definitely give Jim a call or visit xavierwines.com and check in on him. He'd be glad to help you.
.nyc.
Oh, xavierwines.nyc. Does .com forward to your NYC?
Yes, it does.
Oh, so you're covered, baby. .com, .nyc.
Whatever.
The thing to remember is Xavier Wines. We're really happy tonight to have Josh Hatton here with us. Josh has got his fingers in a bunch of different whiskey pies, and he's gonna.
That sounded better in your head.
No, let's go with that.
I think
I'm
it's
cool
all
with that,
good.
yeah.
Or he's got his fingers in a bunch of different whiskey bottles and casks, whatever you want to do. But he's going to talk to us about a few of the things that he's involved with and lead us through a really interesting tasting this evening.
Sweet. So we got our criticism last time was that we BS too much. So my first question is, what is our first whiskey, Josh?
Well, I've got about a 15-minute introduction to talk about that. I've got 5 whiskeys in front of you, and over these 5 whiskeys, it's going to cover 3 different things I have my fingers in.
All right.
Yeah, so it's that kind of podcast. Okay, so our first whiskey is in the upper left-hand side, and that is our very first Whisky Jewbilee festival bottling we ever did. So one of the things that I do is I run a festival called Whisky Jewbilee, and outside of the U.S., whiskey festivals have this fun tradition of having a festival bottling to commemorate that festival. it doesn't happen here in the U.S., which for me as a whiskey collector slash drinker, it makes me kind of sad because I go to a lot of whiskey festivals and I have a great time, but then I don't have anything fun to bring home or get afterward. And so we decided, why not do a festival bottling for Whisky Jewbilee? So what this is, in the upper left-hand side, is a 15-year-old single barrel of Elijah Craig. So it's from Heaven Hill. 61.3% alcohol. I'm terrible at maths. You just multiply by 2 if you want the proof thing.
126.2 proof.
There you go. And
Look at the big brain on Steve.
look at the big brain on. And
Won't last.
there was only 87 bottles of this, and that was released in 2013. So this was the last of my bottle.
Nice.
Yeah, we drained it.
This was
All right,
this was the last of the barrel, right? This was the
Well, I was saying before that I had one bottle, and then I moved house, and I found a secondary bottle. Found whiskey.
Well, guys, this is the coolest tasting ever. I'm sorry. Like, Josh really put together, for people that know whiskey, this is like outrageously fun because these Jubilee bottlings, I mean, there's like a raffle at the show to be able to buy one, and not nearly everybody at the show even gets to buy one, and then they sell out within, an hour. And they're just tremendously sought after. I mean, people are literally buying these bottles for huge premiums just to have this collection. So it's really cool to be able to try 2, let alone one of them today. So tell us the story about Jubilee and sort of how that JEW spelling came to be, and tell us about
Jubilee.
Yes, the Jubilee.
Tell us
So,
about that.
so we do allow foreskins and otherwise into the room. No problem there. In 2012, has anybody been to Whiskey Fest here? Raise your hands. No, a few here. So Whiskey Fest is a fantastic festival here in the city, and in 2012 they moved their event from I think it was like a Tuesday, Wednesday, to the Jewish Sabbath, and we're in New York. It doesn't, whatever. So when that happened, there were a bunch of people, distributors, importers, producers that reached out to us and said, "Joshua, you're the Jewish whiskey guy. Can you do something?" So we were actually thinking about doing some sort of a festival, but we had just started our company in May of 2011. So a festival was on the horizon, but it was a really far horizon, and we were just sort of pushed into this situation of, okay, we have to do a festival. Oh, and by the way, Whiskey Fest is 4.5 weeks away, so we have 4.5 weeks to come up with something. So the first thing we did is we reached out to our friends at Whiskey Fest, John and Amy Hansel and Joan McGinley there, and said, people are asking us to do this. Are you cool with this? And they were totally fine. They understood. So we had our festival on a Thursday, the night before Whiskey Fest. And doing that allowed us to have a lot of distillery folk there, like Ronnie Cox from Glen Rothes was there. Nika launched their brand at our first Whisky Jewbilee, which was kind of cool. So we're sort of forced into it. And so for our first 2 years, we did it on the Thursday before Whiskey Fest, and it got big enough where we felt we can sort of cut the umbilical cord and move it from October timeframe to June. JEWN, June. But here's the thing.
Really gonna slaughter this Jew
I
joke.
know. But here's the thing. Whiskey Jewbilee is a festival for people into whiskey, first and foremost. The food happens to be kosher catered, so everyone can enjoy a meal.
It's really, I think, the best of the festivals. It's the right size. You put a lot of care into it. And outside of an Edinburgh bar mitzvah, you're never going to see that many kilts and yarmulkes in the same
Yeah, historic kilt yarmulke ratio going on.
I mean, there was like a band of Jewish Scotsmen playing ska music or something. It was really out there. But it was really fun. I mean, you really get to taste a lot of stuff. I'm not going to plug it too hard, but it's my favorite.
go
of
ahead.
The,
Yeah, sure.
it's my favorite. And now you guys are in what? Seattle, Chicago.
Yeah. So we're in Seattle, Chicago, and New York now. So
Nice.
This past June was year 5 in New York. Year 2 was Chicago. Year 2 was in September, and then we'll have our second Seattle in March.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, and one of the things that we try to do is we try to cap the attendance, so that when you go in there, it's you're not squeezing cheeks. You can move around.
Well,
and
Ben
you can,
is, but that's something.
Yeah, I'm handsy. What can I tell you? I just I get a little grabby.
You can
It's a
move
Trump
around.
thing. What can I do?
Oi.
You can enjoy yourself. You can move around. You can talk to the exhibitors and actually get a chance to learn about their products and what's on the table. And that's what we aim for.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, what's number 2 here? Tell us about the wild
Has
turkey.
everybody had the first one
Yeah,
already?
you guys got
You
in
guys
there?
are fast. Look at that.
I've
haven't.
been hearing about this whiskey for like
So here's the
40
crazy
years.
thing. When we launched this, I think we sold it for $85 a bottle. I've seen this go for as much as $2,200 in the secondary market.
How does that feel for you?
Weird. Really weird.
Are you kind of like flattered that that it's so sought after, but yet saying like, where's my $2,200?
No. I don't know. Yeah. No, I'm.
Just kidding.
We're all about selling good whiskey at a fair price. I don't. Once you buy it, you could do whatever you want with it. But what I'd really like you to do is drink it and open it with good friends.
Yeah.
If you need a down payment on a car, I understand that too.
Pass around that bottle just so we can show everybody how beautiful it is. He really did a nice
Really
job.
cool- really
and
cool
each bottle
design.
is custom designed with a different Jew on it.
You should have Jew collector cards.
So right now there's 7 different Whisky Jewbilee bottlings. The second one, which is in the lower left-hand side, is a 9-year-old wild turkey, and it's a single barrel. It's 60.7% alcohol, and as far as I know, we were the first independent bottler to bottle a wild turkey,
Wow.
Cool.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, well, we had some wild turkey featured in our previous podcast because Jake Cahill, who's actually with us tonight, the whiskey warrior, brought us a Russell's Reserve that went head to head with some of Steve's picks, and Russell's Reserve came out to be the winner of our bourbon under 75. So we're in good company. We're wild turkey deep on these podcasts right now.
You're like a ninja.
Whiskey ninja. All I have to say is gobble gobble.
I mean, these are both everything I look for in a bourbon. I mean, big, strong, just beasts.
Yeah, this one
Tally-ho.
it was me and let me use proper English. Eddie Russell and I were in the warehouse, and he took me in, and he had about 9 or 10 casks set to the side for us to taste, and tasted through maybe 6 of them and said they're all winners, and then we sort of whittled down to 3. And then he did a blind tasting. He said, okay, I'll pour these, and then I'll put them here, and I'll let you know, whichever one you pick is your favorite. That's the one we'll go with. And it ended up being the one I thought was my favorite. I selected as my favorite. So usually when we select a cask, it's at least 2 or 3 of the people in our company doing it. It's definitely me and Jason Johnson Yellens, our VP. Without a doubt, it's usually us 2, but in situations like this, it's okay to have Eddie Russell as the second guy tasting your whiskey.
That'd be all right with you.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Was it unanimous?
It was unanimous, and Eddie said, yeah, this is by far the best barrel we have.
We've always been unanimous. Every time we picked a barrel, seems like there's always a clear
Clear winner. Well, we
Joe
have
was saying-
we have similar tastes, and so usually, and I know that a lot of the people that we're usually selecting with or kind of talking to about the picks like what we're calling beasts. We're the beast masters. We like big, flavorful, either smoky or like, big bomb bourbons and ryes,
So do you want to tell us a little bit about Single Cask Nation as well?
Yeah, so as you were talking about selecting big, brash, bourbon, smoky, so on and so forth, the next whiskey we're about to taste is perhaps the most delicate on the table. So the next two are from Single Cask Nation. Single Cask Nation is my independent bottling company. So that's what we started. Jewish Whisky Company started we wanted to be an independent bottler. You've got great bottlers out there that have been doing it for 150 years, right? Gordon MacPhail and Douglas Lang, Duncan Taylor, some newer ones like Exclusive Malts, and
We have Signatory next month.
Signatory
coming
next
in
month.
at
Yep,
the Beast
that's
Masters
right.
Club.
I wish I could make it there.
That's going to be nice.
yes, absolutely.
So we wanted to follow that Scottish tradition of independent bottling. Here in the U.S., there's actually a lot of independent bottlers. Barrel Bourbon is an independent bottler, right? I would even go so far as
Pappy
to
Van
say,
Winkle,
right, Pappy Van Winkle, High West, they're all sourcing stuff. The difference with Scottish independent bottling is this is our brand, and this whiskey was distilled at Glen this, Glen that, Lafroig, Ardbeg, you name it. And the idea is we hope you enjoy our cask selections. We're here in the U.S., the tradition is let's buy some really good whiskey, put a name on it. There may be a fun story to it, sometimes nefarious ones, but we're not going to go there. But we really, my business partner, Jason, is from Scotland. He's from Ayr. And I'm a Scotch dork. And so we really wanted to do it the Scotch whiskey way of independent bottling. So everything you'll see is Single Cask Nation, and then the whiskey is distilled at such and such distillery, X number of years, ABV, etc. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, absolutely.
So the one in the middle is a 28-year-old from the Bunnahabhain distillery, which is on Islay. And there's 8 distilleries on Islay, and Bunnahabhain is the only one that produces predominantly unpeated, not smoky at all whiskey. So this spent 28 years in a refill sherry hogshead. We launched pre-sales of it 4 days ago, and we're down to 16 bottles.
Wow. All right.
So we get,
Bottles were
well, for this one there was 119 bottles because part of it we took some of the juice to go to this thing called the Scotch Whiskey Advent Calendar,
Oh, sure.
which a Jewish company supports all sorts of Advent.
Hey,
So it was this plus a whiskey we selected from the Loch Lomond distillery. So 105 liters went there, and then whatever was left was bottled and brought here. So we had about 119 bottles of this and sold through 103.
How much is a bottle?
240 for this one. This is the most expensive whiskey we've ever bottled.
That's a good deal for a 28-year, though.
yeah, 28
Yeah.
year.
And it's
We're
delicious.
not playing.
Cheers. So usually
is
the
really good.
rule, in my opinion, usually the rule should be $10 per year, generally speaking. Right?
Sure.
Does that seem fair enough?
Sounds like Glenfiddich.
Depends, yeah.
Deal.
Right?
I would say like it sort of depends, right? Like I think it depends what it is and how it's treated and the rest of it. So I think it's a good sort of rule of thumb, right? Where when
you
you're
can
when
veer
you're
from it,
right
yeah.
when you're pricing and buying, but like depending on like by that rule, like a standard Lagavulin bottle is $160. So like it's I think if you're talking about cask strength. Single barrel stuff, then probably that's a really good
Yep.
rule of thumb.
Yep.
But when you're talking about sort of regular issue stuff, maybe not.
I wish that was the case for bourbon and rye.
Right. It's gone a little
crazy.
bizarro lately.
Yeah.
I mean, especially rye. The American whiskey market has blown up so much. But it's also why we're all here. So awesome.
Can you get me some $500 50-year-old Scotch? I have no problem.
All right. so that rules out the window.
I think we took a pretty big leap here, like in style from the first two, the bourbons, which were both really good, and especially the Wild Turkey at 9 years is exceptionally smooth.
What's the ABV on that?
60.7 on the Wild Turkey. The Bunnahabhain's 51.3.
But I feel like when you're drinking like some big bold bourbon, and then you jump over to this much more, I guess you would call it elegant, unpeated Islay Scotch, which is sort of like I'm a big peaty Scotch fan, but I really like this, and it's something that I don't generally expect to like, but this is a really good pick.
So we've bottled Islay stuff. I didn't want the any Islay we did to compete with Kilchoman, but we've bottled a Kilchoman before. We've bottled a whiskey from a distillery that rhymes with Schmagashmoolin. One that rhymes with Schmolila. And Lefroy, we have a Lefroy coming out too. But we tend to focus on, for Single Cask Nation, we tend to focus on young, vibrant whiskeys. We're not scared of age statements. We've bottled 2-year-old single malt from Westland, 4-year-old Kilchoman, 2-year-old rye from Catoctin Creek, matured in a Francis Ford Coppola wine cask.
Whoa! Hey,
Wild whiskey.
Westland, I don't know if anybody's had it, is a really cool sort of new craft West Coast distillery, and they're going to come in, I think, February. Can I blow it? Can I spill the beans on that?
I think it's
and we're
in the
gonna
works, yeah.
we're gonna do a live barrel pick with the group here. So
yeah, we're gonna do
it's gonna be really
a
fun.
tasting to actually pick a barrel
Right.
from Westland.
He's gonna pour 3 or 4 samples. We're all gonna taste, do a
We'll
blind vote, and then we'll have our Beastmasters barrel from that.
Yeah.
So should be cool.
Nice. They're good people there.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
All right.
So anything else we want to say about the Bunnahabhain?
About the Bunnahabhain,
I like it. I generally am not an unpeated Scotch super fan, but I think this was an excellent pick, and maybe it's something about the nearly 30 years in the refill sherry cask.
Can't hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, Josh, do you want to maybe explain just quickly what the different sorts of uses
nomenclature?
of the sherry cask are? The first fill, second fill, refill,
Sherry butts.
right? So
sherry butts.
So that sort of first fill, second fill language translates to bourbon barrels, sherry butts, Madeira casks, and so on. So let's use bourbon and I apologize if you guys know this stuff. So in the U.S., to produce bourbon, one of the laws, thanks to a lobby from Big Wood, is that you have to use new charred American oaks, freshly made oak casks that have been newly charred. You put your spirit in there, and then whatever comes out afterward is bourbon. Now you can use that cask again to mature a whiskey, but if you use it again, you cannot call it bourbon again. And Americans drink bourbon made in America. They don't necessarily drink whiskey made in America. So the tradition has been we sell our bourbon barrels to the Scots, about $100 a pop. The first time the Scots use a barrel from us or a sherry cask from Spain, they call that first fill. First time they use it, or fresh.
So that's the first time after it's been once used to make either bourbon or sherry or Madeira or whatever else.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it was the master distiller at Glen Grant who thanked Wild Turkey for seasoning the casks for them. So the first time that the Scots use it, they call it first fill. The second time they use it, it's called second fill. The third time, does anybody have any guesses? You would be wrong.
Refill?
At that point, it's called refill. And once it hits refill, it could be the third use, fourth use, whatever. Now, fourth use, fifth use, sixth use tends to be casks that a lot of grain distilleries will use that, like Girvan, North British, some of these. And it's meant to mature grain whiskey, inexpensive grain whiskey to go into blends to keep the cost of blends down.
Right.
Well, that's why this is lighter, is because it's not a first fill.
Right.
Sherry,
But
right?
and this is one of the reasons why it works in a 28-year-old. The cask may not have been active for the first 10 years or 15 years, but after that, it's finally doing something. And this, I think any younger, and like even 5 years younger, and it wouldn't be what it is. Any older, I think, only do good. But
That's interesting. So this is a 28 year and it's a refill. That means there was 2 uses before. I mean, this cask could be like 40 years old
Or older.
50 years
Yeah,
old.
could
something
be
like that.
70 years old. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. And at that point, the sherry that was being produced was actual sherry. No one drinks sherry anymore. So if you want to mature Scotch whiskey in a sherry cask, they make casks. They send it to sherry producers. Sherry producers fill the casks with sherry. A little while later, that sherry is dumped,
Yeah.
not used, because no one's drinking it anymore. P.S. Please drink more sherry. And those casks are used to mature Scotch whiskey.
So they're just putting the sherry in it just
Yeah.
to make it a
Yeah.
sherry cask.
Yeah.
Well, we were
Interesting.
talking
Little
about
peek
this.
behind the curtain.
Yeah.
I don't know if we were talking about this with you, maybe, but I feel like if you really want to support the single malt industry, you should be out there. Like there should be a tax on everybody where you have to buy like 1 case a year of sherry.
Sherry.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Where it's just like somebody's got to keep the sherry business alive because it's dying and it's becoming a real problem for malt producers to get sherry casks.
And-
they're
and-
really expensive now.
And that's why I wanted to mention the price of a bourbon barrel, where it's $100 or so for a bourbon barrel. It could be $1,000 for a sherry cask.
Well, they're much
You
bigger
know?
too, right?
So they'll do
Puncheons and
different
hogsheads.
sizes.
They'll do
Oh.
hogsheads, puncheons, and butts, and you're going from smallest to largest.
Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you just chose your Beastmasters Club nickname, which is now officially Big Wood.
There could be worse names.
Breaking stereotypes.
So I don't want to rush people through the Mazel Tov. So I don't want to rush people through the tasting, taste your own speed, but I do want to talk about Kilchoman because it's such a fun
Yeah.
story. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So
what they're doing.
Cool. Has anybody had Kilchoman before? By show of hands, you're all good people. You're all good people. Even the people who didn't raise hands. Kilchoman is one of those 8 distilleries on Isla. They're only 10 years old. They're the only family-owned, independently owned distillery on the island. And here in the U.S., we have craft distilling. Kilchoman's as close to craft distilling as you'll get from a size standpoint. So they'll produce 200,000 liters of spirit per year. They have that capacity to do that. Where Colila will produce, Colila is the smoky stuff that goes into Johnny Walker. They produce about 7 million liters of spirit per year. So what Kilchoman does in a year, Colila does in a week.
Sure.
So it's really small, boutique-y stuff, and there's no computers operating this. It's people bringing the yeast to the mashed, to the washbacks and putting the yeast in. It's people going to the spirit safes and looking at the color of the spirit as it comes off and smelling it. Is it ready? Do I need to, has the hearts come off of the still? So it's really, this is real craft. Kilchoman is also the only farm distiller. It's Isla's farm distillery. It's the only distillery in all of Scotland to produce a product that from barley to bottle is done all on site. There's about 120 Scottish distilleries, so it's kind of cool.
And aren't they the first new distillery on Isla in over a century? Or something like that?
124 years, yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So they kind of broke back into one of the kind of key Scotch producing areas and created something new in a place where people have been enjoying spirits from for a long, long time.
Definitely created something new, but I think I've been following them since before I was so the third finger. So the first finger was Whisky Jewbilee. The second finger, I won't do it the other way. The second finger is Single Cask Nation, and then the third is and with the importer who brings in whiskeys from the Kilchoman distillery. So while, yes, they're doing something new on that island, I'd argue to say that they're bringing back a tradition to that island that's been gone for some time.
Right. No, that's
Yeah.
a great
And
way.
that's-
It's a great way to put it.
And it's not knocking the other distilleries at all. They're just doing something the way things used to be done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so cool to meet those guys with you. I don't know, a couple months ago, almost at this point, but like just to hear the whole story and to understand what they're doing and get a feel for how they do what they do and why they're doing it. And it seems like they're so passionate about what they're involved in, and it's sort of a family enterprise. And they have roots on the island, and they're like very much into bringing back this sort of homemade, almost craft style of Scotch.
Yeah.
So tell us about this bottle.
Right.
What's in here?
This is the Kilchoman U.S. Tour bottling, or better yet, the Kilchoman U.S. Land Rover Tour bottling. So the Wills family is the same family that owns Land Rover. Any new Land Rover coming that's designed, they do their test driving on Isla, where this distillery is, where the family lives, and so at the distillery they have this beautiful old school Land Rover that's all Kilchomaned out, and for the past 2 years previous to this they were doing Land Rover tours in the UK and in the EU. And we asked them to come to the U.S., and so this was the Land Rover tour. And like the Whisky Jewbilee, where you have a commemorative bottling, it's like going to McDonald's and you get a Happy Meal, and you also get a toy that comes with that Happy Meal. I don't go to McDonald's. Sorry, non sequitur. This is a commemorative bottling for that tour. And so there were only 840 bottles for this, spread over 9 states. So the allocations here are tiny, minuscule. So this is a cask strength version of their flagship whiskey called Machir Bay, 60.1% alcohol. Doing my math, that's 120.2.
Hey, there you go.
You're in there.
Look at that.
And this is mostly bourbon barrel with 5% or 10% sherry, is that right?
So basically, they'll take about 30 casks or so and throw 30 bourbon barrels and throw in a sherry cask for good measure. Really, the sherry cask is there to sort of round out the flavors, offer up some extra sweetness to it.
Yeah, I love this one. I mean, Ben and I actually got to interview the Wills. We're going to do a follow-up podcast with that interview. We just pulled them off to the side and talked to them, so it's a fun one, so you can tune in for that. But we tasted through the whole line, and this one just blew me away. I mean, you don't get to taste it at cask strength that often, and it's just so fresh and new, and it's just different. Like, I think they're really focused on what a whiskey tastes like from us, in 3 or 4 years, as opposed to a lot of the older malts that were either made for a blend and then they just were put aside, or they're made to be aged for a really long time. So
they talk about we talked to them, and we'll get into this in the podcast with the Wills, but that they engineer basically the process to create a distillate that is extremely pure and works really well without having to be aged for an extreme length of time. So they're trying to use something that can be in a barrel for only a few years, but yet produce like a nice, smooth, very tasty, flavorful whiskey. And I think they prove their case. When you taste everything that they make, it's all excellent. And they have a variety of different things depending on your particular tastes. But I'm a big fan of Kilchoman. I love drinking it, and I think like they're also as at least what they've said is that they like to also, like you're saying, they want to bring good whiskey at a reasonable price. Like they want people to be able to access it and kind of share it and spread the word, and kind of I think a lot of what started Steve and I down the path of doing the Beastmasters Club and first starting to get our friends together to drink whiskey was that like we just want to enjoy this sort of in the way it was intended. It's not supposed to be something that people keep locked away in basements. Like it's made to be drunk with your friends and have a good time. So I think that Kilchoman is a big supporter of that notion.
Well, thanks everybody for being quiet. Does anybody have any questions for Josh? Do anyone want to come up and there's a mic here?
We have a mic. Step up, please, and be counted if you have anything to ask.
Anyone?
So, just while we're on the topic of Kilchoman, I think it's great what they've been doing with kind of disproving everyone's obsession with age statements. And, you know, in an age where a lot of the stuff, especially here in the States, is going to NAS, non-age stated again.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that they've been putting out a product that is, I mean, so, quote, young, you know, and so quality and amazing. My question is, are they planning on down the road, now that they're like 10 years, you know, the guys over like Campbelltown, you know, they've had the work in progress thing going for their Glengyle distillery. But now they just officially released their 12-year age stated thing. Does Kilchoman have any plans to eventually be age stated only? Or are they going to keep doing the younger stuff to, you know, 'cause has that become their signature? Or, you know, what do they see themselves doing in the future?
So first off, I can't say enough about that 12-year-old. It's fantastic. It's good juice.
I haven't got to try it yet.
It's good stuff. So I'm an equal opportunity promoter of whiskey. You know, the interesting thing about Kilchoman is that they started in December of 2005. So they have about 12 or 14 casks from that year. So year one is out. They don't have, and here we are at year 10, so they don't have a lot of juice that is of that age. And then, unlike here in the U.S., when a distillery starts, you know, a lot of distilleries, they need money. So they'll do one of two things. They'll source whiskey and put the name on it and say, here's some great 8-year-old stuff, just wait till our stuff comes out, like, you know, Smooth Ambler did such a fantastic job doing that. Or they'll produce gin or vodka or what have you. Kilchoman didn't do that. What they did instead is they would sell casks to private individuals or whiskey clubs or what have you. And so they'll say, we'll lay down a cask for you, 1,000 pounds, please, or whatever the price was, because they needed working capital until they can get to a 3-year-old whiskey to sell. So now you've got the first few years where a lot of that whiskey was owned by someone other than Kilchoman. So they've been buying a lot of that back, which is good. They now have some decent stock of 7, 8, 9-year-old stuff. I've tasted it, and it's absolutely fantastic. Right now, they're up in the air as to whether they're going to go to a 10-year-old and say, now we have a 10-year-old. Because that's never been what they aimed to do. Like you had said, they produced a spirit that would have a certain style to it, a certain profile to it, so you can drink it at a young age.
Right.
They don't necessarily know what their whiskey's going to be like at age 12, age 15. They know it's good young.
Right.
And they haven't changed their makeup. They haven't changed how they distill or take their cuts or do anything since they started. I can tell you the 9-year-old juice is fantastic. So I think it's going in the right direction. But they don't know. It's been a learning experience for them. The standard Machir Bay started off as a 3, 4, and 5-year-old whiskey, a blend of those years. And then it went 4, 4, and 5, and then 4, 5, and 6. And so they're slowly getting older. They don't know if they're going to do a standard age statement, like Glengyle did.
Well, this special edition cask strength Machir Bay is getting offered up to everybody here at the tasting. So we have a bottle. We have enough for everyone to have one if wanted. And what's not sort of sold here tonight will be up for offer on our site, and you guys will be able to buy a bottle of whatever remains at beastmasters.com. We also will have some other Kilchoman offerings for you, so you can sort of be able to play along with us with another Kilchoman if you don't get your hands on the actual 2016 special edition.
Can I challenge your Beastmaster group here?
Please do.
Yeah.
So every event that we went to, we had, of course, there were 2 handsome young Scottish guys in kilts helping it out. But every event we went to, they sold out the bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that nice?
I'm not surprised.
Challenge.
No pressure.
I think the gauntlet's been thrown, right? Cool.
Well, Josh, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Anything else you want to share about all of your fingers and pies activities? Anything?
I can share some more fingers with you.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh man!
Again.
Wow.
I hope the mic didn't pick
that
that
just
one
got
up.
a little ugly.
Uh,
All right, we're gonna forget about
I
that.
actually had a quick
Yeah.
question.
I wish I could rewind.
So,
One to a customer.
I mean, there's definitely lots of questions as far as like the Whisky Jewbilee stuff goes, the Single Cask Nation stuff goes. By the way, no one talked about the Glen Moray got a little overlooked just because for time wise,
Yeah.
but that was extremely tasty and really
yeah.
good.
So I was
definitely-
going to talk about that.
Okay, definitely talk about
Yeah,
that, and
okay.
I'll stop talking about that. One more question about Kilchoman, though, while we're on the topic of them. I worked at a small distillery where our master distiller actually learned from Kilchoman's master distiller. He went to their like apprentice program,
yep,
where they
yep.
do a teaching program there.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if they were still doing it or if it's anything that they advertise. And that's a really cool thing that you could tell people about because it affected my
Yeah.
life personally, and
Yeah.
I love the whiskeys that are coming out of that small distillery because of what Kilchoman
Yeah.
taught him. So I just thought it'd be kind of cool for you to tell
Yeah.
people about that.
So the program does still exist, but it's not widely publicized. They definitely want to help people out, but at the same time, they have a business to run. But that's me commenting, not them. They don't publicize it, but people do come to them and ask to apprentice, and they're more than happy to let people come and learn from them. And it's about as hands-on as you get with their distillery.
Very cool. Like it's great that they're involved in that.
Do you want to mention the Glen Moray?
Yeah,
We
so-
totally skipped that. My bad.
So, yep, that's okay. So one of the other things that's sort of under the Jewish Whisky Company umbrella, so we talked about Whisky Jewbilee, we talked about Single Cask Nation. What we didn't talk about was Whisky Geek Tours. That doesn't, yeah. So Whisky Geek Tours, I don't know why I'm making that so hard to say. Whisky Geek Tours is a tour company that we have where we bring people out to Scotland, and over 7 days we bring them to about 14 different distilleries.
Whoa.
And
It's a lot of whiskey.
it's a lot of freaking whiskey. We don't look at castles. we don't look at standing stones. We do chase sheep with our car. But what we did back in 2014, we had a group of 6 Single Cask Nation members that we brought out with us. I mean, they paid to come. We're good guys.
Not a
but,
charity.
We're not a charity. So they came along, and we went up to the Speyside region of Scotland, where Glen Moray sits, and that's the 4th whiskey. That was the one right before the Kilchoman. And what we did is we pre-selected 3 casks for that group of 6 people to choose from. So we knew that regardless of what they selected, we would bottle it. We'd put our money where their mouths will be, or whatever.
Just kidding.
Right?
Okay.
Do you edit this at all?
No.
Not any of that.
No,
no.
That's
we're gonna keep that in.
fantastic.
You're gonna have to
Wow.
live that down. Sorry.
I'm living it. My daughters will not be able to listen to this.
Oh yeah.
Feet in your mouth. Yeah.
So what we did is we selected this cask, which is 11 years, all in a first fill Jack Daniel's cask. So sometimes if we know the cask provenance, where it came from, we definitely want to say that. In this particular case, we were at the distillery, and it said Jack Daniel's right on it. There we go. So it was that. It was a
I don't
cask.
think I've ever seen that before. Jack Daniel's cask.
Glenmorangie uses
Oh, yeah.
predominantly. Jack Daniel's does a great job seasoning their barrels
I
for
didn't think like the
Glenmorangie.
Kilchoman guys said they get all their stuff from Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo
maybe.
Trace. Yep.
But I mean, just never seen Jack Daniel's cask on anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was this. It was a cask that was the whiskey spent half its life in a first fill bourbon barrel, and then half its life ish in a Madeira cask, and then a sherry cask as well. And everybody selected this one. This wasn't my first choice, but I was very happy with it. But because it wasn't my first choice, we ended up bottling that Madeira cask, and that's on the boat right now.
Were you tempted to like rig the pick, just because you were worried that they might
Selection
pick
is
something you didn't
rigged.
like? It's rigged. It's all rigged. Believe me, everything Josh does is rigged.
Look, I thought
Jewish honor.
I thought that this was a tremendous cask. It was very good.
Fantastic.
People are saying really, really good things about it.
Awesome. I get a real like apple cider off this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a little tartness.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
All right. Well, how about
Yeah.
a hand for Josh? Thank you so much.
Oh, that's great.
All right.
This
Well.
was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks everyone
Thank
for
you.
coming. Just remember, support our friends at Xavier Wines. Big support also for Josh, Single Cask Nation, Whisky Jewbilee. Check out his stuff. He's got a great following, but I'm sure he's always glad to have more fans and followers and folks. Anything, anywhere that people should check in to see your stuff?
So you can go to jewmalt.com. That's my blog. And then Jewmalt at Instagram, you'll see pictures of my cats and dogs.
That's really
And the occasional whiskey escape. And, at Monocaskism for Single Cask Nation.
All right.
At Whisky Jewbilee. That's whiskey without an E, by the way. And it's Jubilee with a Jew in it. And that's pretty much it.
All right.
All right, thanks
Awesome.
a lot. And we'll be back again with a little more podcast that covers our interviews with the Wills from Kilchoman, where you can follow up, but also, check in on our stuff. Check out the bottles. We still have a little bit left of our pick
Barrel
from
bourbon.
Barrel Bourbon, so there's still a few bottles floating around out there for all of you who haven't got your hands on one yet. You can still get one, but not for long. And otherwise, we will see you next time. Thanks a lot, everybody.
All right.